Welcome back to Frederick Advice Givers, episode 163. We are at the heart of downtown Frederick. To my left here is Victoria Hale, the VP of Retail Lending here at Frederick County Bank, a fairly new position.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So Frederick County Bank, as you might know, is a community service-based bank. So my story with Frederick County Bank goes back to about 2 years ago when I started my own company. We were at a much bigger bank with my prior company, and I was looking for something local. So I reached out to a friend of mine, and I needed to have something set up to get my business up and running, to get my EIN, get all that stuff up and running quickly. So a good friend of mine, Katrina at Signature Settlements, said, you got to call Steve at Frederick County Bank. Mm-hmm. He'll take care of you. So she actually gave me Steve's cell phone, called Steve on his cell phone. Within 24 hours, he had my bank account and my escrow account set up. He came actually out to my house to pick up the application or whatever I had to do. So I believe, supporting those locally, Frederick County Bank has been awesome to me personally in getting my new business up and running. And I know I want to do the same to you as you guys are starting to grow your reach in the community through residential lending. Right. So that's why we have Victoria on through Steve, who she works with, right?
Yes.
So Victoria, before we get into actually your role at the bank, tell us who you are, your backstory, your origin story.
Okay. I was born in Montgomery County, but we moved to Frederick County when I started high school. Okay. So I've been here since the mid-'80s, we'll say.
Okay.
And I have two girls. One's 26 and one is 20. One's a college student at LSU. Go Tigers. And the other is a middle school teacher at Urbana Middle School here in Frederick County. Yes.
Awesome.
So very proud of the two girls.
My son's actually in 7th grade at Urbana. What's your daughter teach?
She teaches math.
Okay.
6th, 7th, and 8th.
Okay. Very cool.
I'll have to ask if Miss Hale.
Miss Hale. Okay, so she's not married yet.
She is not married.
So no
yet.
grandkids.
No, not yet. Hopefully one day.
And where do you live now?
I live in New Market.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've kind of stayed in the area. When we moved from Montgomery County, we moved to Mount Airy. Okay. So I've stayed pretty local to Mount Airy, New Market area since I've been here.
And how long have you been a loan officer or residential lender?
I started in mortgage in 2007. I've been in banking since 1996. So 22 years.
What did you do prior to from 1996 to 2007?
I was working in consumer lending.
Okay.
So I have a background in both consumer and residential.
Okay. So your position here at Frederick County Bank is fairly new?
It is. I started in April of this year.
Okay, and what's your role here at the bank?
I manage the retail lending operations, so consumer lending and residential mortgage.
Okay. So when Steve and I and you met a couple of weeks ago, you were explaining that you're starting to expand to more traditional products. You know, typically with smaller local banks, you do what's called a portfolio loan,
right?
Which for our listeners and viewers, basically the funding is all kind of in-house, the servicing is in-house, is that correct?
Correct.
The funding, the servicing is all in-house. With residential lending, you could throw a rock here from the corner of Frederick and hit 5 different lending shops. So what they do is there's a secondary market, so there's Wall Street that funds the loans and basically gives the money out to different mortgage companies to go out and procure that mortgage for an investment for Wall Street.
Right.
Correct?
Basically, yes.
To dumb it down, basically.
Oh, yeah.
So you could go and shop around and hit 5 different shops here within 30 seconds and say A, B, C, D, and pretty much get the same answer with A, B, C, D because they all deal with the same investors. Now, a portfolio stays in-house, but you guys are expanding your brand to go out to compete against these local shops, but with your own niche, right? Because of the relationships that you guys have, that Steve has in the community, growing it basically through relationships. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think something that's different about a bank or a community bank, especially Frederick County Bank, it's not transactional, it's more relationship driven. We want to have your whole relationship. We want to be able to help you with your business or with your children with college, different things like that. So it's not just about giving them a mortgage loan. It's about knowing that customer and being able to work with them through the years for different needs and things like that.
So what type of loan products are you now kind of opening up to?
We have basically everything any other mortgage company has. We have conventional financing, your traditional 30-year fixed. We have government loans. We are offering FHA loans as well as USDA and VA loans. So we have the whole spectrum of loan options.
Awesome. And you're closing the loans in Frederick County Bank's name?
In Frederick County Bank's name, yes.
Okay. I mean, that's huge.
Yes, absolutely.
Some shops, they don't close it in their name, and they don't have control over the closing package, and sometimes buyers don't get the settlement on time. When I talk to lenders in my other world, in my real estate world, I always tell them two things. If you run into a hiccup, let me know. Let's attack it together because we're a team. The lender, loan officer, and the real estate agent need to work kind of hand in hand because we do share a client. And then, this comes from your years of expertise. Is make sure your estimates, your numbers are accurate.
Accurate.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would never want to explain to someone why it's $5,000 more than we had originally said. I mean, even a couple $100. I mean, it's one of the largest purchases you'll ever make, and you want to know what you're getting into up front. So it's very important for accuracy to be correct.
So have you guys started rolling out your product line yet?
We're in the initial stages.
Okay.
We have our approvals with everyone. We're just doing some testing right now. So in the next couple of months, we're kind of doing a soft rollout of it. And come the 1st of January, we'll be
kind of pushing it hard?
Yes,
awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So how many people are in your department?
There's 5 people in the department. We have 1 portfolio lender, Ann Cease, and Steve Fennington also is a lender. Focusing more on the secondary market, the traditional mortgage types out there, and then 2 processors, Stephanie Toms and Chris Mariani.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Awesome. All right, so let's take this back to a personal level. What's the last purchase you splurged on, either for yourself or your family?
Kind of be both my family and myself.
Okay.
I made a trip down to Louisiana to see my daughter, and went to an LSU football game in Death Valley. So it was something I've been wanting to do. This is her 3rd year there.
Right.
So it was the first time I've gotten to go down and experience that with her. So it was actually a really great time.
Wake up early and tailgating and all that
day.
kind of fun stuff?
I've never seen tailgating like that in my life. They do it right in the South.
Yeah, I have.
I'll say that.
A friend that lives in Tennessee that was just hanging out with the other week, and I mean the SEC, which is where they are, LSU is. I mean, it's they live and breathe college football. You get down south, and all they think about is college football.
Yeah, they're already planning they have a bye week this week, and it doesn't matter.
Right. What's your daughter studying?
Psychology.
Okay, awesome.
She wants to be a child psychologist.
Very cool. So Victoria, what hobby or interest could you spend hours doing?
Honestly, binge watching crime shows.
Really?
It's one of the, I love crime shows, which is completely different from mortgage lending.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, my wife we always have to watch those too. So what's your top 2 shows?
Criminal Minds. I love that. And I like Chicago PD.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Is that where your daughter gets the psychology aspect from?
I think so.
I mean,
she really, we've talked about that with Criminal Minds, because that's something her and I do together when she's home from school too, is watch Criminal Minds together, which sounds kind of strange, but it's actually interesting, and you do learn things from it, and especially in her role, or being a student, a psychology student, she has said like certain things that she's seen on the show, she's actually learning about in class.
Right.
So she's able to relate the two. So
awesome.
It's kind of cool.
Now, you work for Frederick County Bank.
Yes.
They're your umbrella parent company, and prior to that, I know you were at Damascus for a while, and then most recently you were at?
I was at a mortgage company in Rockville.
Okay. So being basically a loan officer, right? Generating your own business since 2007, is that correct?
I managed more than I originated myself.
Okay.
What I did at Damascus, I built out a team and brought on the secondary mortgages there. We didn't have them prior to '07.
Okay.
So I built that out and built
Similar
a
to
team.
what you're doing here?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, so I'm going to frame this question a little bit different then.
Okay.
Being a manager of people, I've found as growth has occurred in my organization, that's one of the toughest jobs to do, is to manage the different personalities. So what's a piece of advice that you would give somebody that is in a management position that has to manage 4 or 5 or 30 different personalities?
Listen. Everybody has a story, and there's always a reason for behaviors. And I think when you can understand where someone's coming from, it's a little bit easier to have tough conversations with them if there's an issue, or some people need more encouragement than others, due to their background and their history. And I've just found getting to know your team members is a high priority. Being a manager, I think it's very important. It's the people aspect of it. It really is.
So do you put protocol or systems in place that, hey, I've got to meet with each employee an hour a month, or are there any specific guidelines that you go by as a manager?
I do. I have one-on-ones monthly with each employee, set aside a specific time, what's convenient for both of them or for them, and it's their time to talk.
Right.
It's not my time to go over, what's going on in the business or anything like that. This is their time to let me know what's going on with them, with their job, with if there's issues with me,
right,
or somewhere else within the bank, things like that. So it's very important, because then they feel like they have a voice,
right,
and it's being heard.
All right, Victoria. So being in a management position, what is one, if you can remember a specific example, would be great, one tough choice that you had to make over your years? And it doesn't have to be, I don't want names or anything like that, but what's a tough choice maybe that you had to make?
Probably when business slowed down in around a few years back, and we had to do some layoffs, and I had to choose basically which positions were going to be eliminated. That's very difficult. Not something I like doing at all.
No.
So no.
All right, so in the last 3 years, what's a choice that you've made to lead you to where you are today as a VP of Retail Sales at Frederick County Bank?
3 years ago, I actually was when I started to expand mortgage in my previous employer. Just gangbusters. We opened a separate office, hired on additional staff, brought in underwriters. It was really when my focus was entirely on growing that mortgage business and making it a very significant part of the bank. So I believe that experience, the things that I learned doing that, has brought me here into this role.
Awesome. So Victoria, I have sat across the microphone from 162 other entrepreneurs, business owners, community leaders, and I get to learn by asking questions and listening to your answers from your years of experience and the others' years of experience. So I want to flip the script. This is our second meeting. As I mentioned, you, me, and Steve met the other week. I've known Steve for years. I gave that story. So I want you to ask me a question. Could be personal, business, whatever.
Okay. When we talked the first time, you had talked about your Impact Club. And I wanted to know, what made you start that? How did you get the idea to do that? So
the idea was the brainchild of Ryan Fletcher, who's the founder of Impact Club. There are 14 different Impact Clubs across the U.S., Canada and one in New Zealand right now. Ryan's been a mentor, coach, friend for 6 or 7 years, and he basically, his strength is reverse engineering something that's somebody else has had in place and making it much better than the former model. So the model for the Impact Club, which is we pull people together in a room, we've done it at the Blue Side, every quarter, once a quarter. We invite 3 local charities at random to come in and share their story with our members. Each member then votes on the charity with the most compelling story that they want to receive that quarter's donation. And the members, they come, they have drinks on the house, they get t-shirts, they have food on the house, and they commit to a $100 a quarter donation. The beauty of the Impact Club is 100% of that $100 goes to that local charity. The overhead is all covered by Ryan and the local co-founders. So his idea, what came from 100 men that care, or 100 men that give a damn, or whatever that charity is. But he's got a whole back end of teaching entrepreneurs, teaching business owners, teaching charities how to better structure stories for purposes of good, okay, to give back. Once you can tell a compelling story to a potential client, to another business owner, if you're a charity, to a board, to somebody that might be giving you a grant. I've found out in the last 2 years how hard it is to fundraise for these charities. Okay, you know, when they do a grant, they've got to fill out 500 pages for a $5,000 grant. Conversely, they come to the Impact Club, and the last one was $26,200. They come and give a speech for 5 minutes. So we had 262 members there at that time, and each donated $100, and $26,200 for 5 minutes went to that charity.
That's amazing.
So why did I want to do the Impact Club? I've been in Frederick for my entire life, besides going to college at Salisbury, but I've been local. So my family's from Frederick. I've grown up in Frederick. I have roots in Frederick. My business is in Frederick. Frederick has given a lot to me, a lot to me. 3.5 years ago, I wanted to figure out a way to help other business owners share their story. So that's where the Advice Givers podcast came about.
Okay.
I kind of, for all intents and purposes, if you want to call it, cracked a code of how to generate business. I call it story selling, which is never really selling, it's just telling people different stories. So I was very fortunate to be able to put together the podcast to help other business owners get their word out there. Like, this is all, this is, you're not charged anything to be on the podcast, right? Now eventually that model might change because it's a money suck going out every month, so that's it's fine, but for 3 years we've done this to help other business owners. So that's great. But I wanted a way to give back more. And when Ryan came and said, hey, you know, this is a concept for what I think can be huge in local communities, I said, absolutely. You know, I want to do it. So Frederick was the 3rd chapter. We were the largest chapter off the bat. The chapter before us had 181 members, so they donated their first time. A friend of mine, Josh Painter in California, Temecula, California, donated $18,100.
Nice.
In January of 2017, in February of 2017, we beat him. It's a good term.
It's a good competition.
Beat him by 1 member. So we donated $18,200, and pretty much we've gone up every quarter since then. So the Impact Club is my way, and my wife's way, and our family's way to give back to the community. And what's really cool is my kids come. My kids come every time. And they get to hear the charities. They get to hear the speeches. They get to see all the people in the room. They get to cry when the other people cry. And ultimately, I don't want my kids aren't going to remember how many houses Dad sold last year. Like, that's not important. Like, it's all good and well, and it pays the bills, and I love my clients, and we have great relationships, but that really, in the big scheme of things, is not important. Donating $164,000 since the start of 2017, helping other people like yourself, other business owners, we have lots of teachers, we have lots of accountants, we have lots of business owners that are members, helping put them in a place to give back and to feel a part of something bigger than themselves. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry I went on a tangent there, but it's obviously something I'm passionate about.
Yeah, and you should be.
So great question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so last 2 questions. And this can be either personal, business-wise, however you want to answer this is fine. What failure or loss has helped mold the person you are?
I wouldn't say kind of it's a failure. My divorce. I went through a divorce in 2007, right around the time when I had an opportunity at the bank to do something great, and that I've always been rather independent, but that made me even more so. I had 2 children that I was responsible for. So it lit more of a fire in me than I had before to do something, to create something, to make something my own that, I was kind of growing up a little bit more at the time. So that's probably something that's driven me to be successful and to be more independent and to show my 2 daughters that, that women can succeed in business. And if you put your mind to something, you can absolutely succeed. Sorry. When I talk about my kids, I get a little...
It's okay.
So, yeah, I think that really was something that, when it could be such a negative, just to turn it into something positive and an opportunity to grow. So, yeah.
Are you remarried?
I am remarried now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, life events, death, divorce, loss of jobs, those are pivotal moments in people's lives.
Absolutely.
So it's not what happens at that time, it's how you react to it.
It's a reaction to it, absolutely.
So Victoria, where do you see yourself in 3 years and then in 10 years?
In 3 years, I still see myself working at Frederick County Bank. Hopefully, maybe a grandchild, maybe, in 3 years. My daughter will kill me for that. And in 10 years, still working here at Frederick County. I love this bank. I know I've been here a short period of time, but it's a family, and it's amazing to me for being here for 6 months how much I can feel that here. And it's not just inside the bank itself, it's outside. We're so involved in so many different things and good things. So absolutely, I'd love to be here in 10 years. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So final thoughts here. Where do our listeners, viewers find you? Find a location? Do they walk in and say, hey, I want to get a loan? What's the process? Give us the contact information where they can find you.
Sure.
The Silver Fox Steve on Facebook or anything
Facebook?
like that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. My contact information is on our website, which is fcbmd.com, under the retail lending section. And I'm also on Facebook, Victoria Hale. So,
okay. And where are we now?
We are at 2 North Market Street, which is our branch downtown on the corner.
Right down the square corner.
On the square corner.
So is your office out of here?
No, I'm actually located at East Frederick right now, off of Monocacy. And if you're looking for a loan, you can walk in the door. I'm typically there unless I'm down here.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, and they can walk in a branch. And what the beauty is, I walk in and they say, hey, Eric, how are you? And they know your name. And I think that's going to be Frederick County Bank's niche in the retail lending world is those current relationships that you have. You can go anywhere, as I mentioned in the beginning of the interview, you can go anywhere and get a mortgage. And there's plenty of great loan officers out there. I'm friends with lots of them. And they do a good job at relationships. But when you have a current relationship at a bank like Frederick County Bank, and you see how the people treat you when you walk in, and they're always friendly and they're always nice to you, that's going to go, in my opinion, a long way of helping you grow the retail side.
Thank you.
Any final thoughts?
No, just thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming on. Listeners, viewers, I hope you enjoyed episode 163, Victoria Hale, VP of Retail Lending at Frederick County Bank, and we are out.